After 30 plus years of lifting experience under my belt, knowing what I know now, if I could go back in time and start all over again, what would I do different and what would I keep the same? First off, a little Cole's Note version of how I've trained leading up to this point. Started working out at the age of 13. I was a scrawny little kid. My parents bought me a York 2000 multi-gym and the bench press barbells and the dumbbells, those cement-filled weight plates. I still have that set to this day. It sure came in handy during the lockdown when all the gyms were closed. I had a blast bringing it outside, training out in the backyard, soaking up the sun. Just so freaking nostalgic. If you started training with that set as well, do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button and drop a comment down below to share your experience and your nostalgia with that training set. The set came with a manual. I think it was Joe Weider's workout program in there. It was a full body routine, which was great for getting me started. Then at the age of 14, my workout partner, who was one of my best friends from high school, had an older brother who got drafted to the NHL, and he set us up on a training plan. It was a solid plan, very well balanced, and we really crushed legs. He really got us to emphasize some serious leg training. So we definitely did not skip leg day at that point. Then my late teenage years, I started reading the muscle mags and picking up some programs from them, from all the pro bodybuilders. A lot of them were body part split routines there, which I really resonated with. And during this time, I was playing a lot of sports. I was playing baseball, hockey, cross country, track and field, just very athletic, very into sports. And my parents fed me so incredibly well. I think that was one of the advantages that I had that I am so incredibly grateful for. Very well-balanced meals, lean proteins with every meal, veggies with every meal. My parents were those parents who did not let us leave the dinner table until we ate all of our veggies there. So I had an advantage of fueling my body with just incredible nutrient-rich foods to really fuel my gains during that time. So after 6 years of lifting, although I'm not a very big guy, weighed in at a whopping 123 pounds, I still had a pretty solid looking physique. I built a strong foundation that I was very proud of. I mean, really working with my genetics and really giving it my all, giving it the best of my abilities to my training, to my nutrition, to my overall lifestyle at that point. And up to that point, I mean, there was no real alcohol involved. So I was being pretty smart and intelligent with my overall approach. Then came the early to mid 20s, where of course the bar scene kicks in there and nutrition isn't quite spot on and everything, but my training was definitely better than ever. This is when I entered into my 4-year degree in kinesiology with an honors in movement science and learning a lot about programming. A lot of the books, I'd say the biggest impact, the books I had, Serious Strength Training, Tudor Bompa, as well as periodization training for athletes, for sports there. Again, Tudor Bompa there. And what I learned from those manuals there was how to periodize my workouts, to split it up into different mesocycles, microcycles, have strength phases, hypertrophy phases, athletic phases, just incorporating a variety throughout the training years. The first time I ever took a big picture approach with my training. Then in my mid to late 20s, my son was born, my daughter was born, and I opened a personal training studio. To say that life was hectic at the time would be a gross understatement. I was really struggling to find time for myself and to find time to dedicate towards my training. What I ended up doing was just some quick home workouts. I'd do 10 minutes of weight training in the morning and then 10 minutes of body weight hit later in the day. It's also a time when my diet was really falling apart. I just didn't have time to even structure my meals, to even dedicate towards taking care of myself. Or at least because I was mentally exhausted, I just didn't have that mental capacity to express the best version of myself, do what was in my best interest at that time. So gaining 50 pounds of fat from eating crap, drinking a lot of alcohol, and just not being nearly as active as I used to be. Then in my early to mid 30s, I got back into the gym and back to body part split routines, really back to my roots of bodybuilding training. Absolutely loved it, started feeling invigorated again, but my diet still wasn't in control. It wasn't until 35 years old when I decided enough was enough. It's time to give myself six-pack abs for my 36th birthday, and I achieved that goal. And during this time, it's when I started kind of experimenting with a variety of training splits. So rather than just 5 years of body part split routine that I had been following there, I started mixing in some upper-lower push-pull legs, push-pull legs, upper-lower splits, a bunch of different hybrid splits that I really enjoyed and was challenging my body in a variety of ways. And it's really feeling invigorated, feeling that love for training once again, really feeling congruent with who I am. Then in my early to mid 40s, I started paying attention to the bodybuilding research more than I ever had before. And a lot of it was saying that we should avoid training to failure. So I was taking more of a last set, best set approach. So set number 1, I'd leave like 3 to 4 reps in reserve. Set number 2, maybe 2 to 3 reps in reserve. And last set, I'd take a best set approach that would be to the point of true momentary muscular failure. Now in my mid 40s, I am taking every set to momentary muscular failure and absolutely thriving from that experience. And since losing that 50 pounds 11 years ago, I've gone through 11 different bulking and cutting phases. The first one, I gained 30 pounds during a 7-month bulking phase and then 16 weeks to cut that fat. Then I went through 4 years where I did 4 bulking phases, gaining 20 pounds during that process, and then just 12 weeks to cut off the fat. There's some maintenance phases in there as well. And since then, the past 6 years, I've gone through 6 building phases where I've kept the weight gain to under 10 pounds, really staying in that sweet spot, providing my body with an adequate amount of fuel to fuel those gains without gaining excess unnecessary fat. So a lot of learning from those experiences there. And now for the past 8 months, in addition to the weight training, I've incorporated yoga. And for the past 2 months, I've been incorporating some handstands and more functional training movements that really have me excited, really feeling like I'm getting a more well-balanced approach. So knowing what I know now, based on those experiences, if I could go back in time and start all over again, what would I do different? Number 1, I would check my ego at the door. I would listen to all those 40-year-olds who were telling me, you're gonna pay the price for that. When I was ego lifting more than I should, or lifting without a spotter, I can attribute any kind of little niggle or ache and pain that I have right now to the mistakes I made back then with ego lifting, whether it's with my lower back, with my shoulders. I can really attribute back to that kind of ego lifting back when I was in late teens and early 20s. And if I could go back to my mid to late 20s, I would tell myself not to do those quick 10-minute home workouts there. A lot of that had to do with the trend at the time. There's a lot of talk about Tabatas and quick workouts that you could do at home, that you could do outside with body weight movements. There's turbulence training going on at that time. I would tell myself to not focus on what everyone else is doing. Stick to your true love, your passions, what resonates most with you. Yes, you're short on time. Yes, life is hectic and crazy, but instead of breaking it up into 2 10-minute workouts there, you're better off hitting the gym for a focused 30-minute workout. Just give it your all, give it your attention, and do something that you truly love, you're truly passionate. It's time for yourself. That would be great for my mental health more than anything. That break for me would have been huge for managing my stress. It was a great conversation I had with my ex-wife at the time too, because she wasn't finding time to train, and she was mentioning she needs that kind of time to herself. We both needed that time to ourselves to get out, to do something good for our bodies, get those feel-good endorphins going. And then going back to my early to mid 30s, instead of doing just body part split routines, I do what I'm doing now, where I incorporate some body part split routines into my overall yearly training plan, in addition to a variety of other training splits, just to ensure that I'm challenging my body in different ways and just keeping my enthusiasm for training sky high. Now in my mid to late 30s, I really got caught up in that trend of deadlifting and squatting and really focused on strength. And again, this is kind of where ego came into play. I mean, I was pretty damn strong in the deadlift, lifting about 3 times my body weight there, but really became obsessed with that number in ego lifting. I think I lifted 430 pounds for 3 repetitions using the trap bar there. But I found doing deadlifts and challenging my body in this way, my hips kept going out. I really felt my sacrum kind of get out of whack there. There was times during my training session I'd fall on the ground and I didn't even know if I'd be able to get back up. So dealt with a lot of lower back issues because of that. So if I could go back in time, again, the ego lifting, check that ego at the door. And I'd probably just throw deadlifts out and do what I'm doing now, just focus on Romanian deadlifts. Really didn't feel like my body gained any benefit from deadlifting. It was all about keeping up with the trends, keeping up with fads there, and ego lifting, trying to show off that, hey, look at me, I may be a smaller guy here, but look what I can lift there. So It was all a boost to the ego, not necessarily what was best for my body at that time. And then in my early to mid 40s, I would have taken a hard pass on that whole reps in reserve approach. I really found that they dragged my workouts long in order to hit the amount of volume necessary to spark that growth response. And I just prefer to train to failure, to give every set, everything that I got, get in and out of the gym quicker, more efficient, and just feeling alive. And it has no negative impact on my recovery whatsoever because you don't have to do as many sets in order to achieve the desired results that you're aiming for. I just finding I'm getting way more benefit from giving it my all, getting in and out of the gym, leaving that gym feeling invigorated, proud, confident, empowered, and just ready to get on with my day. And when it comes to bulking and cutting, if I could go back in time, I would tell my younger self to ignore what everyone else is saying in regards to you need to eat big to get big, and don't be afraid to lose your abs during a bulking phase there. It's for the greater good. It's necessary to build muscle. No, it's not. All you need to build muscle is an adequate amount of calories to fuel those muscle gains. And for the most part, it's a gentle calorie surplus. If you're a beginner, complete beginner to training, maybe 300 calorie surplus is all you're going to need. If you're an intermediate lifter, you've been lifting for maybe 5 years or so, 200 calorie surplus is all you're going to need. If you are an advanced lifter, you've been lifting for over a decade, like 100 calorie surplus is all you're going to need to fuel those gains. All that extra weight that I gained, the 30 pounds that I gained during that muscle building phase, the 20 pounds that I gained during the other 4 muscle building phases, it was all excess fat. It didn't increase the amount of muscle that I gained compared to when I kept my weight gain to below 10 pounds during the next 6 muscle building phases there. So I would definitely not fall for that eat big to get big. Don't be afraid to lose your abs because you just have to spend way more time cutting and less time providing your body with the fuel it needs to build itself, to feel your best, to perform your best, to really thrive in all aspects of life. And if I could go back in time, I'd try my best to convince myself not to brush off yoga or functional training. I know functional training really got a bad rap back in the day, mainly because you see people trying to squat with a barbell on their back on a Bosu ball, just doing some crazy nonsense. But I really wish I would have incorporated more calisthenics beyond pull-ups and dips. Like right now, I am fascinated with like the planche, handstands, crows, all different kinds of balancing moves that require functional strength, like joint stability. That is just, it's a lot of fun. So I'm really excited to see how I can take this 47-year-old body and make it even more athletic than it ever was. I always just kind of assume bodybuilding's functional training. I mean, I'm doing great in sports. I'm playing, it's helped me with hockey, it's helped me with all the activities that I'm doing, having the strength that I built through weight training. But when I started incorporating yoga 8 months ago, I'm realizing, you know what, I'm strong in some positions, but there's some positions that I am weak and some positions that are out of balance there. So really wish that I would have started incorporating both yoga and functional training earlier. Now I did try yoga when I was like in my early to mid 20s there. Wasn't right for me. So sometimes it is a matter of just being ready. I'm at a stage in my life where like mobility, functional strength, all this stuff is becoming more and more important to me. I want to be able to be able-bodied for life. Like I want to be able to do everything that I want to do for as long as I live. And a lot of that is going to come down to my mobility, how I function throughout the day and doing stuff that's beyond the dumbbells, the barbells, the machines right there. So really developing strength in different ways. And I really, really wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self to prioritize sleep. Make it your number one priority because it has such a positive impact on everything that you do throughout the day. Your performance in the gym, your appetite control, your mood, your focus, your energy, just your overall zest for life. So those are the things I would do different, but overall, like reflecting back on these past 30 plus years of lifting experience, there's a lot I would keep the same. I think I've done a hell of a job with my overall programming, adapting it to my lifestyle at that time and really doing what was in my body's best interest. I feel really grateful that I had some great guidance right out of the gates with my uncle, my dad, my best friend's older brother who was experienced with weightlifting and had some extra guidance himself getting into university, and that being my focus, the human body, the human anatomy and biomechanics, and then having some great mentors over the years to help guide me to learn from their experiences and to learn from my clients' experiences as well, which workout programs resonate best with them. So overall, it's been a wonderful 30 plus years of lifting experience. I'm looking forward to another 30 plus years of lifting experience and seeing how my body responds, how it changes, how it evolves, how my programming evolves. Who the frick knows? I couldn't tell you. Like, I would have not guessed I'd be doing yoga and functional training 8 months ago, so I can't tell you what I'll be doing 8 months from now. Really, it's the sky's the limit. It's really limitless potential out there. So I would love to hear about your experiences with lifting. What is your training experience been like? What have you learned? What would you do different if you could go back in time? What would you keep the same? Please take a moment to drop a comment down below to share your thoughts, share your insights, share your feedback, and your own personal experiences. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button. I'd really appreciate it. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that alert button so you're notified each time I upload a video. If you know a fellow bro who would benefit from watching today's video, please do me a favor and share it with them. Before you go, don't forget to download your free guide, Lose Fat, Get Jacked. Have yourself an amazing day. Catch you next video.